I was over when my dad was watching Midway yesterday, and I think Flags of Our Fathers, and I think Flags of Our Fathers is actually a very good Clint Eastwood film. That's on our obviously Saving Private Ryan, The Longest Day. God, there's so many. Where Eagles Dare. I mean, AMC is
Tora.
Tora.
Out there?
Tora. I mean, that great last line. I think we've awakened a sleeping giant. There's a lot of films. Good. There's a lot of great war films out there. The Dirty Dozen, The Great Escape. Why don't we throw in the Sand Pebbles while we're at it? There's
Dean,
a number of Tom Wayne films that you could throw in there. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because in the past week or so, I've gone ahead and released 20 of the Kubrick series uncut interviews, some of which have to do with Full Metal Jacket. One of these interviews is with a gentleman named Harry Haynes. He's a Vietnam veteran, and he's gone on to a career in academia where he's actually a film professor, and he teaches the Vietnam conflict and other wars as they're portrayed in various forms of media.
Right.
His opinion is that Full Metal Jacket is the closest to his experience in Vietnam. Yeah. But we talk a lot about Vietnam War films, so anyone that's interested in that, look last week, Harry Haynes, that's an episode from last week that we aired. Dean, tell me a few titles that pop in your head, and then I have a couple of more lists here to go over with you guys, so more.
Well, I really like the movies that show the kind of the sort of futility of war, kind of, and I would put Full Metal Jacket in that.
That would be the top,
probably.
Well. That and Paths of Glory, I would think, would be at the top of that list.
For sure. I'm kind of in this. I have my 101 favorite war movies up on Filmicability, but I'm sort of kind of editing it to the list in order to pay attention to American involvement in things, since that's what the Memorial Day is all about. One of the movies that, and I'm going to point out some of the more obscure ones here, but I think one of my very favorite war movies is called Pork Chop Hill. It came from 1959.
Sidney Lumet, right?
No, it's Louis Milestone, the same director as another great war movie.
Okay. Lumet was just The Hill.
All Quiet. Yeah, All Quiet in the Western Front. Yeah, we're talking the Hill is the Sidney
Lumet Connery movie.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Pork Chop Hill is with Gregory Peck and Woody Strode. It's got a huge cast. Actually, it's a really surprising cast because it's got, it's 59. Remember, this is 59. So it's got Harry Dean Stanton is in it, Robert Blake, Woody Strode, Martin Landau, Harry Gardino, Norman Fell. It's just a huge, massive cast. It's just like and basically what it's it's set during the Korean War, and the soldiers are sent to take this little hill. It's very much like Paths of Glory, where they're set to take an anthill, and it's kind of a futile effort because it's just such a small piece of land, and they're massively overcome by the Chinese during this thing. It's a great sort of the best war movies are like process. They're sort of like you see the process of war, the planning for it and the execution of just a specific action.
Right. Did you? Somebody's asking in the chat room. Have either one of you guys seen Sam Fuller's Steel Helmet?
Steel Helmet. That's what Sam Fuller is one of the great he's right behind Stanley Kubrick. And Stanley Kubrick has made 5 of the great war movies, but Sam Fuller is right behind him. And of course, Sam Fuller had first-hand experience.
Yeah, he did.
That's what the Big Red One is all about. It's about
definitely.
His first-hand experience. All those like fixed bayonets, Steel Helmet. All of those are great films. Merrill's Marauders, that's another one. But he also did things like the Crimson Kimono, and that were war-related, but not actual in the field of war, you know.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out another great war movie from 1945, John Ford's They Were Expendable.
Mm-hmm.
That's also with John Wayne and Ward Bond and a lot of those stock character actors that are in a lot of John Ford movies. That movie really underlines what Memorial Day is all about, because it's all about sacrifice. That's what that film is about. It's one of the few war films of the World War II era that actually ends with almost everyone dying in action. Almost everybody in the film dies in the action in the Pacific. And that is a devastating movie, probably the best movie of 1945, I think. And then one movie that might not... This is kind of a weird war movie in the sense that it's kind of a sideshow kind of war, but I find incredibly powerful is Black Hawk Down. With Black Hawk Down from 2001.
Oh, that's that was the better of those two movies that came out at the same time. We Were Soldiers and Black Hawk Down. That was the better movie.
Yeah. Black Hawk Down, again, another kind of futile effort by and I don't want to say that, you know, all of the great war movies are about futile efforts made by the military, but I think they're the best ones because they really show the sacrifice and the toughness of the job. I mean, the job is obviously tough, but these movies really underline it.
Look, I mean, and this is what we're going to stay away from, because modern conflicts have been overly politicized, and I think that's a main reason why, as a country, we're not we don't feel like we're part of these wars like we did with World War II. And there's also the fact that World War II, it was known as an essential. You know,
we don't have a draft, Jamie. That's the main reason that we're cut off. We don't feel it. I mean, we're cut off. I mean, and not that, you know, the Pentagon will be the first people to say we don't want to draft back because they don't. But that's the main reason. We just don't have. We are cut. It is surreal. It is fascinating. We have two wars going on right now that 95% of the country is detached from.
Right.
It's really weird when you.
But
think
even
about
so,
it.
I mean, a lot of people know someone that is fighting
someone,
in that war.
but it's not.
But with World War II, it seemed to be a culture that was more involved and invested.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I think the big thing there.
And I think that was an essential kind of conflict. And those movies show. I mean, Saving Private Ryan definitely shows the sacrifice, and that was not a feudal war.
No, it wasn't. But we speak of feudal war movies. Let's go with the ultimate, probably one of the best war movies made in the last 20, 30 years, Stalingrad. That's definitely that. And then there's a Russian movie, Come and See, that was made, I think, in 30.
Come and See, yeah, that's a Polish
Those are
movie.
both probably two of the most.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about feudal war movies. Forget anything we've made. The Eastern Front. Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean when you get into overseas movies, European movies or movies about the European side of the conflict, then you get into another subject entirely, I think. But I mean, you know, the thing about World War II is, I think the thing that motivated everybody, and this is the thing that's absent from wars, you know, being fought subsequently, is that there were clear villains. There was Tojo and Hitler, and neither one of them were people that were regimes that we could conceivably see having a huge part of the goings-on in the world. And nowadays, subsequently, the villains are sort of hazy. The the objectives are hazy, and therefore people tune out because they don't think that it's vital for them to be involved in.
But even just in terms of movies, that level of ambiguity should make for stronger films. I mean, because that's essentially the opposite of the John Wayne rah-rah kind of genre of war film, for the most part. And I mean, I know of a lot of veterans, and actually Harry Haynes is one of them that take great offense to a movie like The Green Berets.
Oh yeah,
how,
The Green
how
Berets.
incredibly naive it is.
I took a course at University of Maryland. God, this is like '91 on Vietnam and films. The Green Berets is always been considered a disaster. I mean, just you can't make a World War II movie in a Vietnam framework. I mean, you just can't do it. And it's an embarrassing film. I mean, people know. I know it had John Wayne. Everyone is, but even that Green Berets just I don't even think held up when it was released.
Right.
I mean, it's an embarrassingly bad film.
One of the most interesting things about Platoon, the thing that made Platoon such it's a good movie. I like it. It's not my favorite war movie, but it's definitely in the top 100. But one of the interesting things, it's lower, I have to tell you. But
Platoon is in the top 100. Well, that's good. That's good.
Well, I'm going to point to why I put it lower. It's because Jerry said something interesting. You can't make a Vietnam movie with a World War II template. And for me, Platoon kind of harkens back to World War II movies. But what's interesting about Platoon is that's what made it such a cultural phenomenon, was because it was finally a movie that sort of kind of puts, by way of its structure, good versus evil, the warring things inside the Charlie Sheen character, like you pointed out. But the movie does bear kind of a resemblance to World War II movies. I mean, there's been a number of World War II movies that have those same two sergeant characters. One that's kinder and gentler, and one that's a war dog, and that's what made that movie into the cultural phenomenon that it was.
Well, but this was taken from Oliver Stone's experience. And Oliver Stone went to Vietnam to become a man. I mean, he volunteered because he felt like it was a rite of passage that he needed to undergo to find out what he was made of. And he was shaped and kind of torn asunder by these two wannabe father figures.
Because his father figure, I mean, this is the stockbroker, would figure in the next film, Wall Street, more.
But he absolutely could not relate to.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing because that is
actually Stone taught before he enlisted in the war. Stone actually taught Vietnamese children English. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was teaching in the region, and then he went to fight against them in the war, which is an interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because someone brings up in the chat room Platoon and Apocalypse Now. You couldn't get two more opposite films. Remember Apocalypse Now, The Deer Hunter.
Exactly. Or and
they're
also,
metaphors for the Vietnam War. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, even things
John
like
Kerry hated Apocalypse Now.
Oh, he did?
Even things
he didn't understand it.
Well, it's not. It's not a slice of life. I mean, it's not. It's not Platoon. It's not life in the life in the day of, the grunt. It's metaphysical. I mean, it's on a different plane, but it's trying to kind of achieve the same truth in the end. It's just doing it in a more kind of mystical, mythic way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Patrick in the chat room brings up probably one of the greatest war movies, Cross of Iron. Very controversial. Probably one of Sam Peckinpah's brilliant films, but it's because it's told from the Axis point of view. But is Sam Peckinpah in this film talking about America and Vietnam? I think he is.
When was it made?
Oh God, I don't remember.
What was
remember
that?
The Wild
79?
Bunch. The Wild Bunch.
77.
But is that like a? Because remember, The Wild Bunch is an allegory for Vietnam, according to Peck and Paul, and
I think so many movies were in that period.
Yeah.
Movies that had nothing to do with
77
war.
But do you think he's doing? I mean, in Cross of Iron, he's obviously, because it's very critical of the German high command, and you have what's his name? James Coburn playing the, obviously, you could easily transplant him to the 60s Vietnam, an American soldier almost, but there's an interesting. You could make the case that he's talking about Vietnam in that movie. Peck and Paul was, and it's that movie's just fascinating. That's a crazy. I think only Peck and Paul could make that movie.
Yeah.
Well, I think in terms of and this is one of my favorite movies, is Born on the 4th of July, and I actually asked Harry Haynes what the consensus is on this. But a big reason why I like it is because you have a lot of movies that show fragments of the experience, whether it be the experience at home during the war, the experience of combat within the war, the experience of coming home. Mm-hmm. This encompasses all of that, and
yes,
you feel such a life's journey. I think it feels to me as to be the most kind of complete and nourishing of all of those experiences encompassed in one film. And it's just one of the movies that I find most moving in my life. Mm-hmm. Here's some others. Forbes came out with a list. Some of these titles we've already mentioned. The Messenger, which is
it deserves to be on there. It's fascinating.
A very, very worthy exploration. Mm-hmm.
And there was never a movie made before that about that subject matter. Mm-hmm. So that was a great screenplay, a great by what's it? Is it Oren Moverman? Is that his name?
Oren Moverman, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a terrific screenplay with because it's amazing that a movie hadn't ever explored those emotions that those soldiers must feel going and knocking on the door of newly widowed people.
There's another movie similar to this that I thought was incredibly moving. And it was the HBO movie. It was that Taking Chance movie with Kevin Bacon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another good one. Really
where he's accompanying the dead soldier home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heartbreaking movie. And there's a scene in The Messenger that stays with me. It's when they go up to one of the houses to notify the parents that their child has been killed in action. And the parents are in the middle of a fight when they arrive.
Yeah.
And then they deliver the news, and it's just, it's a devastating reaction. That movie stays with me. What do we think of Hamburger Hill? Because that came out pretty much right on the heels of Platoon.
That was like 80. It was like 88 or 87.
It's 87.
So, yeah.
It's a good film. And that's another. You talk about the futility of war. That going up that hill and everything. The people, everyone. I mean, the sacrifices that those men made. I mean. It's a John Irving film, but did The Dogs of War, and I also think Raw Deal, the Schwarzenegger movie years later. But I like that film. That's a good film, solid film.
I haven't revisited it in a long time. I kind of lumped that movie in together with Gardens of Stone.
Gardens of Stone is 86, right?
Yeah. I think it might be 87 too, like summer of 87.
I think it is too. But the Gardens of Stone was kind of. I mean, that was marred in the process of making. I don't think it was quite the movie he intended to make.
No, I agree with you, James.
Yeah.
Just because of the tragedy that befell him during the shooting, they can't blame him for that. But also on this Forbes list, I mean, The Usual Suspects, all of which we've talked about: Saving Private Ryan, Born in the 4th Platoon, Flags of Our Fathers, Jerry, that you mentioned, and their number one being Glory. Yeah,
Glory is
a great film. It's not, as much as we talk about it on the show, or it's not. I think people have forgotten about that film, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people revisit it enough. But it is a terrific movie. It's a little. it's a little TV movie for me sometimes. I don't mean TV movie. I mean sort of just, it's a little cliched sometimes for me,
right.
but it's incredibly entertaining and informative, of course, the sacrifices that company made. And it's got a great ending. I mean,
do you buy Matthew Broderick in it?
Yeah,
that's one of the problems. I think I buy him as a novice commander, but he does seem a little bit too much like a kid to me in it. Just a little bit too much. I think they overplay that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's the Wrap came out with a list today of 6 underrated war movies to watch.
Okay, let's hear it.
Some interesting titles. Jarhead, which
I
never
was
saw.
going to mention that. I do
think that's underrated.
It's a good movie. Better book, but a good movie, just because it shows you. I liked how he related, even though this is the first Gulf War, how he was able to make it somewhat relatable to, if you're watching this film. Was it 2005 or 2006 that it came out? I
think it was 2005. I'm not sure.
Yeah. He made it relatable to, and you are just ambiguous. There's an ambiguity about how you're supposed to feel, and I think he did that perfectly. I also just thought it was very interesting. They were waiting for their big moment. Anthony Swofford never got it. They just didn't get it.
Yeah, that was unusual.
Casualties of War. Casualties of War is on the Wrap's list as well, which we've talked about before.
We've talked about at length. Yeah, I mean,
I have some issues with it, just because of kind of how preachy and how overly writerly it feels at times.
I agree. I agree completely.
The movie contains some of the most haunting images you will ever see.
Right.
And I think it's a good, as De Palma said when he came on for Redacted, it is a great parable for war and what it does to a country and to the people and what it does to us. And so I mean, I think it's such a haunting. I wish I had the words to express how haunting I think that movie is in some of the places.
It's disturbing. It's a disturbing film. I mean,
yeah. Army of Shadows, Melville, 1969.
It's a good, really.
Believe it or not, I've never seen that.
It's a solid, excellent film. A really fascinating film about it's not a black and white film about World War II. It's really you talk about haunting and disturbing. That one is too, from a very different film from what at least I had encountered from Melville, because it was released. It was only released in I think 2006. I think after many years. And
it was restored.
It's a fascinating film about the French Resistance during World War II. Just incredible.
They also bring up Wind Talkers, which I never saw. Wind Talkers with John Woo.
That's not something I'm going to be doing.
It's not very well done.
Yeah. Their number one.
That's probably a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Their number one is my number one, which is Empire of the Sun. One of my favorite movies, and they bring it up here. War Through a Child's Eyes.
And Batman.
Yeah, and interesting in that, I mean, he's this wide-eyed kid that can dreams of being a fighter pilot.
Right.
And he experiences the war at first through those eyes, and then you see the maturation and the loss and the grief and how it transforms him. Powerful.
Oh, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Some of my most underrated war movies, and I'm kind of straying here from the American side and going talking about all sorts of kinds of war movies here. But Stuart Cooper did a great war movie in 1975 out of the UK. That's on the Criterion Collection called Overlord. That's shot in black and white and tells the whole story of one soldier's induction into that country's armed services, and it's just one soldier's experience. And this movie is so brilliant in its filming that it absolutely looks like something that was filmed in 1942 or something.
Wow.
You know, because it seamlessly blends in. You know how sometimes you can be watching a movie like Midway, for instance, where the stock footage, the wartime stock footage just jumps out at you as being like kind of like, ugh, it doesn't look good in the context of a narrative film. But this movie blends the wartime stock footage with the newly shot stuff, the then newly shot stuff, so perfectly. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Also, another movie from Britain by Kevin Brownlow from I think it's 1963. It's called It Happened Here, and it posits what would have the UK been like had Hitler actually won the war. And again, another, Kevin Brownlow co-directed it with another gentleman whose name I don't have at the moment. But is
that available on DVD? Is it available?
I'm not quite sure if that's available yet on DVD or not. I have to admit I saw it on VHS for the first time I watched it. But it comes from '65, and again, another movie that looks absolutely of the era in which it's set. It's unbelievably and it feels incredibly modern at the same time that it has that sort of retro look to it.
Jerry, I want to ask you, Jerry. Hang on. I want to ask you, Jerry, because you haven't mentioned this movie yet, and I know it's one of your favorites, which is Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, do you view that through the prism of a war film at all?
I got to be honest with you. No, I don't. Even though World War I is the backdrop, I don't. That's a movie about. I honestly believe that is a movie about a man having an identity crisis.
I
really do believe it is about a man having, and it is because World War I is really the same. It's part of it. Don't get me wrong, but it's almost beside the point. Like in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the Civil War is beside the point. Let's go even further. Inglourious Basterds. Yeah, World War II is going on. It's beside the point almost. But Lawrence of Arabia is really, to me, one of the single greatest movie about a man having an identity crisis, very much like Tarzan or Fight Club for that matter. He doesn't know who the hell he is. He really, halfway through that movie, he doesn't know whether he's an Arab or an Englishman.
Yeah.
That movie is as self-absorbed. That is the original emo movie. I'm not joking. I'm being very serious when I say that. World War I is actually beside the point. This guy really has no clue who he is.
But it is, this is true, you're right. It is, I feel that it's equally a movie about what you say it's about, and also a movie about World War I conflict.
It is, it's there, but it's just...
And nation building, I mean, the whole second half of the movie is all about building a consensus between the tribes and building a nation, really.
It really goes back to him, though, throughout the movie, even because it's really about him, and he's an egomaniac. He's nuts, and he's not nuts. But it rhymes. I mean, yes, well, because I was remember this because there's a book, that came out. I forget. Do you remember Dean Video Hound books? Do you have?
Yeah, sure.
I have so many of those, but there's one about war movies, and they mentioned Lawrence of Arabia, and I don't even view it. It transcends that genre. It's like when the guy asked about Apocalypse Now. I don't even know if I consider that a war movie. I think that's Coppola's, as I said the last time, Coppola's version of On the Road as far as he's concerned. That's a road movie. It just takes place on a boat in the river, but that's really a road movie. And I'm a guy, the same one, OSLC, rents his Bridge on the River Kwai. It's a great war movie, but that's another one that's really about three dominant personalities: Alec Guinness, Jack Hawkins, and William Holden. And I always look at William Holden as he's caught between Jack Hawkins and Alec Guinness, who are both, as far as he's concerned, insane. forget the Japanese guy. He's beside the point once you get out of the camp. I mean, he's got to deal with Jack Hawkins, who's just as nuts as everyone else. But Lawrence is a war movie. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say it's not. But I think it's about so much more. These are the movies that we've talked about. Some of them, I think, transcend the war genre. We don't even think about them as war movies anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let me bring up for the end of the show the movies that represent the conflicts that we've been in recent years.
Right.
Because, I mean, we've talked about many times that there seems to be there's a lack of understanding, there's a lack of perspective about a conflict that you're in the heat of at the time, and so the movies can't necessarily be up to snuff because they don't have that distance. But that being said, I mean, The Hurt Locker was definitely the highest profile, most acclaimed.
I would have to put that, I mean, that has to be there somewhere. I mean, definitely.
And my favorite of the bunch has always been In the Valley of Ella. That's a highly emotional movie for me with one of the great Tommy Lee Jones performances. He is so flawless in that movie.
You're not going to go with Men in Black 3? I really thought
I like Men in Black 3.
No, I did too. I mean, but
not,
I'm just
not
saying.
necessarily him, but talk about a war movie. They're at war trying to make that movie.
Is underappreciated film too. Both of the films, actually, even The Hurt Locker, even though it's an Oscar winner and all that, they're both it's really hard from this era that we live in right now. But they are two very good movies, and the Tommy Lee Jones one especially. I'm really happy that you bring that up because I think that's a superb movie, and I think that captures. I mean, I think that last scene where he stops at the school and puts the flag upside down or whatever is symbolic of the whole decade, really.
It's a beautiful character, too.
Yeah.
And it's another generational movie, fathers and sons in different conflicts, because he really does undergo a transformation in that movie. And the character being played by Tommy Lee Jones, you really have to watch to see when that transition takes place. I mean, it's a very subtle performance, and so you feel that kind of gradual awakening in him to how war has changed, from his time to the modern day. And it's a very special movie, and I think it's actually the best movie Paul Haggis has done. I know that Crash gets all the
I'm not a big fan. I like Crash, but I don't love it.
I think In the Valley of Ella is like far and away.
It's better than Crash for sure, definitely. Yeah. I like, as far as post-1980 American conflicts, I really like Three Kings, David O. Russell's Three Kings.
That's a great movie.
I mean, that is such a wonderful movie because it is first, it's beautiful to look at. That sort of oversaturated photography in it is just stunning to me. But also, I love the relationship between the soldiers in it. Spike Jonze and Mark Wahlberg and Clooney, George Clooney.
And Ice Cube. Let's not forget Ice Cube is superb in that.
Ice Cube, right? He's great in it, and it's a funny movie, but it's exciting, but it's also incredibly touching. And it's one of the few movies that actually shows the military actually reaching out to the people that they're trying to protect. It underlines a certain kind of sacrifice that these soldiers make that is kind of has that sort of Vietnam-esque kind of irony to it, but also has this sort of yeah. And then also, there's another Edward Zwick movie out there that came out in the 90s called Courage Under Fire.
Right.
That I adore with Denzel Washington investigating some malfeasance in the field, and probably the best thing that Meg Ryan has ever done. Who would ever, probably my favorite Meg Ryan performance is in that film. You know,
I mean, I really follow it because of Denzel Washington and his character. I mean, that's a haunted character that he plays in that movie.
The.
What about MASH?
Yeah. MASH is another great. Even though it's set during the Korean War, it's another sort of Vietnam parable too.
It is the ultimate Vietnam.
Yeah. Parable. And also one of the few war movies in which not a single there's only one shot fired, and it's at a football game. It's at a football game. So it's an unusual war movie in and of itself, and absolutely deserves to be on.
What about Rescue Dawn?
List.
That's the Herzog movie. I never did see Rescue Dawn.
Well, it's a different
really
movie.
Good.
It is good, but it's
really
a different
good.
kind of war movie. It's
yeah.
like, God, I hate to say it, it's a thinking person's missing in action almost.
Right.
I hate to use that description, but it really is. But it's a very interesting film because here you have a German director looking at Vietnam, and it's not really before you get to the apocalypse nows and deer hunters and coming home aspect of the war. Dean, if I'm not mistaken, it does what John Milius could not do with Flight of the Intruder. Make a heroic Vietnam movie, because John Milius tries to do this with Flight of the Intruder and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all.
It's also a fascinating movie because it's Herzog's second movie about that character, because he did a documentary in the 70s called Little Dieter Needs to Fly.
Right.
So it's really a narrative version of a subject that he had already plumbed in the documentary field. And that, too, is fascinating just from a filmmaking standpoint alone,
Well, there are two movies that veterans tend to take most offense to. And the first movie we've already mentioned, and that's Green Berets. The second one is one of the most popular, and that's Rambo. That whole culture of Rambo was very, very distasteful.
Well, I think that one line in the second one where he says, "Will we be allowed to win this time?" And I always felt that a lot of veterans took offense to that, but. I think what took, let's be very honest, Stallone really pissed off a lot of people with that whole series because he was at a Swedish boarding school teaching, gymnastics or whatever during the war. So it was always very insulting that he made these movies.
And it also has to do with how the Rambo persona was actually appropriated by the right wing political party. It was kind of appropriated as the character itself was kind of appropriated as the ideal soldier. The soldier that everybody wants fighting on their side. But this was a reluctant soldier that's really pulled back in just because of his own moral.
Right.
Well, it's very shrewdly done, because what it is, particularly that second one, what it is it's a fantasy movie.
Oh, it's a big time fantasy movie. I mean,
it's the reluctant hero that goes in and single-handedly frees, the captives, the POWs, like the one-man army.
And you had a good movie, a decent movie. That came out a couple of years or a year before this, Uncommon Valor with Gene Hackman.
Yes, yeah.
Which was I think let's be very honest, has probably been forgotten by a lot of people.
That movie always cracked me up. It's not a funny movie, but there's one part of that movie that cracks me up every time I will see it. I think that's Ted Kotcheff. Did he do that? Somebody like that.
That's right.
I don't remember.
Yes.
So
it
ends, and the closing credits come up on a scene of Randall Tex Cobb dancing in the sunlight. That image just always cracked me up.
That is funny.
I vaguely remember
Das Boot.
Das Boot. I was going to mention that one. I think Das Boot is absolutely one of the top 5 war movies ever, and certainly the best submarine movie that's ever been made. I mean, I don't think they'll ever come close to making a submarine movie like that.
I have to say something about Das Boot. I don't know about you guys. But at the end of that movie, it doesn't matter. I don't care who you are. You are because you are with them. And I've never seen now as we've come years later, it actually was originally a German mini-series. Not even a movie. It was a mini-series.
Right.
But you are with these guys.
Yeah.
You're with these guys this whole time. And I don't know about you guys. You cry at the end of that movie. You don't tell that to people, but you do weep at the end of that movie. Cause
I got a T-shirt that said "I cried at Das Boot."
Look, we're Jews and we cried at the end of Das Boot. What does it say about how fucked up? But you were with them. You were with them through this whole journey.
Yeah.
I'll never forget seeing Das Boot for the first time in '83 or '82.
I think it was 82, Dean. 82.
It was '82. I saw it in what was then. I was working at. I was like 15. And was working at a movie theater here in Georgia, and it had the largest screen in the Southeast, and it had like 1,000 seats in it. So you can imagine the size of this movie theater. It was only one. It was only one screen. Okay, so this movie theater was huge. I saw it with a packed audience. I mean, there was literally 1,000 people watching this movie. And I'm serious. It wasn't more than 40 minutes into it where I began to feel this movie just made me feel so claustrophobic. I felt like you could just feel all of the grime and all of the danger of that situation. That movie just puts you right there. I mean,
it does. It really does.
And it's relentless. And it's only at the end of it that you realize, hey, we were rooting for Nazis, or whatever. So it's like
that's the thing you want to really broadcast at that.
That's going to be my soundbite for you, Dave.
Hey, we're rooting for Nazis.
I'm going to take that soundbite. Okay, so to close off, for final thoughts. Time Out New York, they always do great lists, 50 best of everything. And these are always like instantly popular when we tweet these, like they're retweeted all over the place. So they did a list of their top 50 favorite war films. Their top 10 includes many of the titles that we've discussed. Their number 10 is They Were Expendable. Their number 9 is MASH. Their number 8 is Sergeant York.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a beautiful movie.
Number 7, Army of Shadows. Number 6, Come and See. We mentioned that one. This is on a couple of lists, and I think I know why. Number 5 is Starship Troopers, the Verhoeven movie.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people that really dig this movie see it as a parody of your typical war genre cliches in a way.
Right.
It is a more clever movie than its kind of movie quality with,
I mean, I put it on the level of Verhoeven's, RoboCop in terms of couching a very intelligent thesis in a sort of a entertainingly silly kind of tote or whatever, So it's like, but yeah, I mean, I think Starship Troopers definitely deserves to be in a war movie list.
Their number 4 is Full Metal Jacket. Their number 3 is Grand Illusion.
Oh, that definitely does.
Yes. Yeah, that's in my top 10 as well.
Their number 2 is Apocalypse Now. And their number 1 is Paths of Glory. And I do think...
That's my number 1 as well. So.
Well, I do think that, for me, doing the Kubrick series and going back and revisiting Paths of Glory like I did maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, it is an extraordinary movie, and it does kind of encapsulate the horrors of war, those decisions that you have to make that cost lives, and yet you have to maintain your morale and go back in there and do it. There's a lot of, as was commonplace in Kubrick's films, there was a lot of moral gray areas explored in that movie. But that ending with the German singer, and they moves all the soldiers. At first they're jeering, and then they turn around and they feel this tremendous grace and sad beauty in the midst of this environment. I think it's an extraordinary movie.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is, and it's so economical. It's like I think it might be under 90 minutes long, and that movie, when you watch it, it just goes by in a flash. It is so mesmerizing.
Yeah.
It feels like it's 15 minutes long, really, because it's just that involving. And you're right, it does sort of encapsulate everything about. Everything that can be said about wartime experience.
Did you see the Verhoeven, the last big war movie he did, Black Book?
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
I still haven't seen that yet, but
Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, 1983, David Bowie.
Oh, I have the Criterion of that, actually.
I have a recommendation. This is Peter Watkins is one of the great filmmakers of Britain. And he did 3 war movies, one in the 60s and 2 in the 70s that are just, or 2 in the 60s and 1 in the 70s. All 3 of them are just extraordinary. One is called Culloden. It's also known as the Battle of Culloden, and it's about the last battle that was fought on British soil, and it was fought against poor serfs. That were really fighting for nothing and died for nothing too.
Culloden is also a blood thinner, right?
Yes, it is. And then he also did a movie, kind of a sci-fi tinged movie called The Gladiators, about a future world in which war has been commodified to actually to kind of a TV reality show where war is fought for the entertainment of people. And it's only secondarily a way to rectify disagreements between nations. But his most famous movie, the one that he won an Oscar for, and this opens up a whole other discussion, he won an Oscar in '65 for directing the documentary, and it's really a quasi-documentary called The War Game, which is one of the most devastating movies. It's along with Threads, another UK movie that came out in the 80s. One of the most devastating movies about nuclear war. And we've seen, everybody knows Failsafe and of course Dr. Strangelove, but The War Game, which is less than an hour long, really drives home the horror of nuclear war, which is the ultimate in. Let's face it, nuclear war is the ultimate in war because it decimates anybody that you have a problem with. So, but Threads is also great from '84. It was directed by Mick Travis, I think his name is, those are terrific movies. Britain has made a lot of really great war movies.
Okay, on Threads, maybe we should call tonight.
I'm trying to can you guys hear me? I'm trying to unmute my line.
Okay.
I think it's unmuted. What about the Rossellini World War II trilogy?
I love. We've got Rome Open City, right, and Germany Year Zero.
Yeah.
Germany Year Zero is kind of a precursor to Empire of the Sun. When you were bringing up Empire of the Sun, I always flash back to Germany Year Zero because it too is about it's really about the aftermath of war seen through a child's eyes, and it's positively devastating as well.
All right.